welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a really profound question, I think. Can your past truly define your future? And what if maybe those things you see as weaknesses, maybe those chapters you wish you could just, tear out, what if they actually highlight something incredibly powerful? Our source for this is a devotional. It's titled, If God Can Use Paul, He Can Use You, 1 Timothy 1 devotional. And it pulls some really insightful bits from a work called God's Perfect Patience, Paul's Mercy in Your Calling. So our mission really is to unpack Paul's story, specifically how he looks back on his own past in 1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 12 to 20. We want to see how his radical transformation speaks about grace, about second chances, and what it really means to be used for something bigger.
Yeah, and what's great about this source is how it frames it. It really zeroes in on this core idea that grace isn't something you earn, right? It's received. And that God's mercy is just bigger than any past mistake, that central thought, if God can use Paul, he can use you. But it digs deeper into the how.
It's exactly the how. And to get into that, we're going to look at some pretty striking details from Paul's own words, his own confession, right there in the text. It's kind of the backbone for our whole deep dive today. It might actually surprise you. Okay, so let's get into it. Paul starts off, this is 1 Timothy 1, verse 13, reflecting on who he used to be. And he doesn't mince words, does he? He says, formerly I was a blasphemer, a persecutor, and a violent man. Wow. I mean, that's intense. He's definitely not sugarcoating it.
No, not at all. It's brutally honest. And what's fascinating is, despite that, really dark and aggressive past, someone actively fighting against Jesus' followers, the text is crystal clear. He received mercy. And if you zoom out, you see his transformation wasn't meant to be like a quiet personal thing. It was precisely because his past was so extreme that his conversion and then being appointed to service became such a public and powerful testimony.
Right. So it's bigger than just his own redemption story. It's like his life becomes Exhibit A. The source highlights the why behind the mercy. So Paul's life could be this living example of, quote, God's perfect patience for anyone else who would come to believe. How does his specific history make that message louder for others?
Oh, immensely louder. Look at verses 15 and 16 in 1 Timothy 1. They're explicit. Paul writes, the saying is trustworthy. Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the foremost. But, he says, I received a mercy for this reason, that in me, as the foremost, Jesus Christ might display his perfect patience as an example. And it begs that question, why take someone so violently opposed, a persecutor, and make him central? The answer seems clear. To show off God's perfect patience through the most unlikely person imaginable. His past didn't vanish. It became the very canvas God painted on.
That is incredibly powerful, isn't it? So, okay, what's the takeaway for us then? The devotional really pushes this idea that Paul's confession isn't just his story. It's meant to be universal. He's basically saying, look, if God can redeem and use me, the self-proclaimed foremost of sinners, then, he can work through anyone.
Precisely. And that means you don't have to hit some imaginary target of good enough before God can use you. Your past doesn't boot you out. In fact, Paul's story suggests it can actually kind of paradoxically highlight just how deep God's mercy and power really go. It totally flips the script on how we tend to view our failures or regrets, They don't have to be the final word. They could be the start of something new.
And this is where it gets really practical, I think. Your story can become hope for someone else. We often think of getting saved as the end point, but for Paul, man, it was clearly just the beginning, a catalyst. His life wasn't just changed, it was mobilized. What does this passage tell us about the active part of living this out?
That's a really crucial shift, from just receiving mercy to living with purpose because of it. Paul doesn't just stop with his own testimony. He immediately gives Timothy a charge. It's right there, verses 18 and 19. Wage the good warfare, holding faith and a good conscience. This isn't passive belief, is it? It's active. It's disciplined. It's an ongoing fight for the truth, not against it, like Paul used to do.
So grace isn't the past to sit back. It's fuel to move forward. And Paul even gives a warning, a contrast.
He does, yeah. Verse 20, he mentions Hymenaeus and Alexander, saying they made shipwreck of their faith. These were people, it seems, inside the church who rejected that faith in good conscience and went off course spiritually. Paul uses them as a kind of cautionary tale for Timothy. It underlines that while grace is free, holding on to faith and living with integrity takes ongoing effort. It reinforces that you need perseverance, you need that clear conscience, grounded in the mercy you've already received, to live out your calling effectively. So just to bring it back, the profound insight from 1 Timothy 1:12-20 is really this. Paul's past, blasphemer, persecutor, violent man, wasn't a dead end. It actually served a divine purpose. It was meant to display God's perfect patience as a living example for absolutely everyone who would later believe. His extreme history just made God's transformation in him undeniable and showed, look, even the hardest heart can be remade and put to work.
Right. And the core message for you listening is just so clear. You don't have to clean yourself up first for God to use you. Your past doesn't disqualify you. Actually, when grace gets involved, it highlights his incredible mercy. And this part is really powerful. Your story, no matter how messy you think it is, could be exactly what someone else needs to find hope. Because Jesus came to save sinners. And, well, he's still doing it often through people just like you, people called to actively live out that changed life.
Absolutely. And Paul's command to Timothy, wage the good warfare, holding faith and a good conscience, that's such a strong reminder that this isn't just about reflecting on what God did way back when. It's about what we do now in response, living out that mercy day by day, standing in contrast to those who drifted away.
So here's something to maybe chew on as you go about your day. A final thought. Given Paul's, frankly, radical turnaround and this almost counterintuitive purpose found in his difficult past, what part of your story may be something you see as a hurdle or, something you regret? What part could actually be reframed? Could it become a powerful testament to patience and mercy for someone else? What seemingly dark chapter might be the very thing someone needs to hear to find their own hope, to see God's hand maybe working in their life too?